to a few stories here that have been on The Blaze, and I'm going to let them tell the stories real quick. They are just at the beginning of the investigation. You know, this is like what I said after the shooting of Trayvon Martin. I said, let's not make judgments here because the investigation, the wheels of justice have to turn. But I have to tell you, the stories that you two in particular have to tell are pretty darn remarkable. And I will tell you that I bet most people will say, oh, you know what, there had to be more to this story. So let me introduce you to three people here. First, Celia Bigelow. She is a frequent contributor to TheBlaze.com. She's a conservative activist. She confronted Congressman Jim Moran about the Second Amendment. He refused to answer her questions. Eileen Hart is here. She had her guns confiscated by police after an incident where they were trying to change the property tax that you were paying. And then we have Keith Pantalone. Is it Pantalone?
Close enough.
No, say it.
Pantaleon.
Pantaleon, sorry about that. He had guns in New Jersey, legally purchased, confiscated by the police, and they just came into his house and they weren't supposed to be there. No warrant or anything else. So let me start. You guys tell the key part of your story and bring everybody up to speed before we have a deeper conversation. Okay. You start.
Long story short, I hear a disturbance in my house. I respond with, I keep my gun in a day planner. Mm-hmm. And I keep it in a day planner just in case that my landlord came in with a repairman, because earlier that day there was a complaint that there's no heat in the entire building. And the landlord said that on Saturday morning he'll have somebody come in and repair the boiler. Well, to my chagrin, when I crack open the door, I see a man dressed in all black with his back to my bedroom door. And when I crack the door further open, I realize, oh my God, these are cops and EMT in my apartment. What are you doing here? Well, by the time I got rid of my weapon, threw it on my bed, which was still in this case, and I go to close my bedroom door, one of the cops pushes me out of the way, goes into my bedroom door, sees the gun in the case, behave unprofessionally to say the least, and the next thing I know, I'm spending 35 days in Hudson County Correctional Center. 35
days in jail.
That's correct.
All right. Let's go to your story real quick.
Okay, well...
Same state, New Jersey.
Same exact state in the South.
Okay.
We went to dispute the property assessment, which raises our taxes by double. And long story short, I got thrown out with my husband and my daughter. And the employee from Appraisal Systems, Inc. runs after us, writes down my license plate number, and screams, let's see if you can pay your taxes now. I get home, there's 5 police cars and one from Clayton County, or Clayton, New Jersey, rather. And he tells me that I have no choice but to come with him without a warrant. And they charged me at the police station for terroristic threats and confiscated my 2 handguns.
Right, and said that somebody had told them that you had said, you know, I'm going to come back and kill all of you because I have guns.
That's right. And I would never do such a thing for the fact that my parents were persecuted for being Jews in Europe. I would never threaten anybody.
Okay. Tell me your story. You went to just go stand up.
Right. So Representative Jim Moran in the 8th District of Virginia was holding what I like to call an anti-gun town hall.
He's the worst record. He has the worst record.
It was supposed to be a discussion on what happened after Newtown and the steps we can take to reduce gun violence. And this was simultaneously going on during the discussions in Colorado, where women rape victims were standing up to their legislators saying, hey, I was in a gun-free zone. I'm sorry, but a call box, a ballpoint pen, none of that could have helped me.
Those rape victims were on this program. One of the representatives saw this program and said, you guys have to come, and they mocked them.
Right.
It's amazing.
They mocked them, and they said if I had a gun in that situation, I would have been able to prevent my attack. So I went up to Jim Moran and simply asked, why is it that male politicians like yourself think you can best decide how a woman can defend herself in these situations?
He's pro-choice.
He's pro-choice, except for when it comes to a woman choosing how she can best defend herself in these situations.
So tell me, you two are similar, and you have to have had people say to you already, well, you did something wrong. You had to have done something wrong, because I mean, the cops just don't do that.
Well, before this incident, I might have been one of those people, but let me assure you that anybody who did anything wrong were those cops. Number one, they were there without probable cause. There were no exigent circumstances. It obviously was not an emergency because they were there long enough to lock me up and illegally search my place. Then on top of that, they have the nerve to ask me, well, first they threatened me after handcuffing me, saying, ooh, I wish I knew you had a gun. Otherwise, I would have shot you. They should be wiping your blood off the floor. And then in the same breath, he has the nerve to ask me, why didn't you tell me you have a gun? Well, Officer Psychopath, I think you answered your own question.
All right. So, but the guns that you have, completely legal.
All bought from FFL dealers when I was living in PA.
You had to have done something. You had to have done something.
I read the Constitution. That was what I did wrong in the tax assessor's eyes and Appraisal Systems, Inc. in their eyes as well. The tax assessor had said to me before she threw me out, I don't write the law, I just enforce the law. Well, that's funny because I didn't see a badge. That's when she threw us out because there was a small group of people in there. I was reading the amendments and the Constitution, and I was armed with the facts about the Fourth Amendment, private property rights, and this little group was starting to pay attention, and they wouldn't have that. They couldn't have somebody like that there. But yet she called me extreme. She said she had never seen such extreme behavior before.
Are you guys extremists?
Wow, that's a loaded question.
I mean, no. I mean, are you extremists? I mean, because that's really, honestly, that's what people would say. Well, you must be extremist.
Well, let me put it to you this way. Which one of my rights am I willing to negotiate away? How about none? Now, I am a firm believer of live and let live. That's as extreme as I'm going to get.
You an extremist?
Apparently I'm a radical, that's what I've been called before, but it seems to me as if the Bill of Rights to these other liberals or whoever's against these progressives, it seems like the Bill of Rights is a bill of crimes to these people because we've seen it happen multiple times. Not even just the Second Amendment, but with the First Amendment on college campuses, you can only speak freely in free speech zones, or with Rand Paul on the Senate floor trying to defend our...
Extremists there,
yeah, they're extremists. It's all crimes.
Are you an extremist?
Well, if reading the Constitution and petitioning my government against something that goes against the will of the people, then we're living in Hitler's America right now. We've reached that point.
All right, and... You have authority to say that. Let me